Good afternoon, and thank you for inviting me to speak at the Safety for Sea conference. Very pleased to be here. I'm the Executive Director of the Sustainable Shipping Initiative, under which the Ship Recycling Transparency Initiative is hosted. So this is us. This initiative was launched in March of last year at Tradewind's Ship Recycling Forum in Hamburg. It's made up of members, which I will show you in a moment, from the SSI, but also from others outside of the SSI. The Sustainable Shipping Initiative is made up of members that are across the value chain. We're non-profit, and we're focused on social, environmental, and economic sustainability of the shipping industry at large. So I want to run through what this initiative is about. This is, we heard it earlier today, it's about going beyond regulation. In the absence of the Hong Kong Convention being entered into force on the safe and sound or environmentally sound recycling of ships, a group of like-minded and leading companies, which are from ship owners, financial stakeholders, cargo owners, and other interested stakeholders such as classification societies and so on, have come together to put this initiative forward to focus on what are responsible ship recycling principles and practices. It is not a ratings or a standard based initiative. It's really about doing the right things right, shining the light on what those ship owners that are engaged in this initiative believe to be responsible practices. So our vision for this initiative is one where ships are recycled responsibly on those three pillars of social, environmental, and economic, and as I mentioned, going beyond the international rules or conventions and norms. And it's a voluntary market-driven approach where we want to influence and improve the decision-making and, in fact, then create an industry-wide level playing field. Transparency is the key word here, and so is voluntary. There is no regulation binding these members to disclose. It's the ship owners that are disclosing their policy, practice, and performance in this area of ship recycling in order to shine the light and lead the way forwards. So on the left, we have the founding and initial signatories broken up into the categories I mentioned: ship owners, financial stakeholders, and classification societies. So you can see we have 6 ship owners: China Navigation, Hapag-Lloyd, Maersk, Norden. Interestingly, Norden in Denmark have not recycled a ship since 1928. But they believe strongly in doing the right things right and standing behind this initiative and supporting the momentum going forwards. Stolt Tankers and Wallenius Wilhelmsen, and it was mentioned earlier about those that have from Dustin on the cargo interests, etc., high-profile names, etc. And you can see on the right we have BMW Group, who have put their backing behind this initiative. They're very focused on the recycling of their own products, the automobiles, etc., well-known German brand, of course, and leading player in the automobile industry. And they see an extension of their responsibilities going beyond what they do with their product to their value chain. And this is where you see interested cargo owners, such as BMW, Scania, and others that we are talking to in perhaps apparel or other industries also. Financial stakeholders, you may wonder why. Banks have issued their own RSRS, Responsible Ship Recycling Standard. We have Standard Chartered so far in the support of this initiative. And we have NeCredit, and NeCredit is an investment bank representing many investors who believe in responsible, green and ethical standards in this area too, whether it's on the labour, social or marine biodiversity impact from other practices which are are well broadcast by one of the other NGOs who are also shining a light on poor practices. We have Lloyd's, we have RightShip, also a sponsor here. They are an SSI member. And then we have two investment pension funds in the middle there in Scandinavia, MP and PBU. Ongoing dialogue, 50 plus ship owners. In terms of recent ship owners, we have Swire Pacific Offshore, we have TK, and we have two other major ship owners who are about to disclose, and hopefully we come out with some more information of that in the coming weeks. So what do we believe and what do we focus on? We believe in the transparency. This will shine the light on the practices of those joining the initiative to lead the way forward in terms of what is a responsible set of policies, practices, and as I mentioned, performance. So really being held up to scrutiny of what they stand for, what they set out to do, and how they are monitoring and controlling the performance against what they set out to do. So a little bit also what's been said earlier today about implementation of certain things. They're very focused on not just saying from a CSR perspective what they will do, they're actually putting people on the ground and control measures to make sure that what they set out to do actually happens. And it's out there as public disclosure from these ship owners. Anybody can go and look at their data. Anybody can inquire, whether it's from a lender, an investor, or a cargo owner who would maybe look to the ship owners to decide who fits and matches their principles, their policies in around social, environmental practices in this area. So it's to increase the pressure on underperformers, again looking to create that level playing field, protect the interests of the industry stakeholders, and grow responsible ship recycling. Improved and informed decisions is key here, because we believe that the pressure from the demand side onto the ship owners to take care and custody of their assets from cradle to grave. You find the ship owners will have a whole flood of engineers, people, consultants, etc., pre-actually owning the ship in the new building yard. They'll take care of it responsibly and according to regulations throughout the life and operation of the vessel. But the practice of, and history shows us that when it comes to the end of life, it's very much, it's not my problem, I've sold the vessel, I sold it to somebody who then sold it to somebody who is the scrap dismantler. So regulation is there, but practice shows that this is sort of left for somebody else to handle, and the ship owner has moved quickly on. And I mention this because the demand-side pressures of investors, lenders, and cargo owners and civil society is focusing very much on the ship owner now as the one that has the challenge to make sure that this is done in a responsible way. And they're really looking past, the form. So it's substance over form. This is actually what is happening. You are dismantling the ship. You've just put somebody in between you and those practices. And this is what I mentioned here. It's really about this pressure on this side onto the ship owners and the ship recycling facilities, who are in some parts of the world. 90% of these ship recycling is done in South Asia, so we're talking India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. And they are investing in many respects. In India in particular, there are over 70 shipyards which have statement of compliance issued by class societies in accordance with the Hong Kong Convention. Japan are investing an ODA loan of 80 million into the Alang shipyards to upgrade their practices, infrastructure, etc., and to make sure that the ships are dismantled on impermeable block rather than on the beach, and making sure that the workers are properly trained, wearing protective safety equipment, and do this in a responsible way. So as I say here, it almost comes down to recognizing the game is changing. It's about risk management. There are a lot of images, like Dustin also showed earlier, of vessels on beaches. Some NGO will also take away the myth around the changing color of the ship and the renaming of the ship, and expose the actual ship owner. So there's pressure from that side. We all have the same goals, so it's all about doing it in a responsible way. I mentioned disclosure. The ship owners are asked to disclose that are signing up their policy, practice and performance. And these are the 6 areas or categories: ship recycling policy practices. Contracts, what contracts do you have in place, either directly with a ship recycling facility or via a cash buyer, where you may stipulate or not what practices should be followed, Hong Kong Convention or otherwise, or your own responsible standard. And some of our ship owners, example Maersk, have their own very detailed standard which goes beyond Hong Kong Convention. Inventory of hazardous materials. This is part of the EU ship recycling regulation change that's been adopted from the end of last year also. And policy for selling off owned vessels, i.e. via a cash buyer. What do you do? How do you handle it? And very similar for any that are run through joint ventures or chartered and then later perhaps dismantled at the end of their life. What do you do about implementing the policies and practices and monitoring, control, follow-up? What labor, collective bargaining rights do you have? What safety, stop work orders do you have, etc.? And as I said, it's voluntary. The data is signed off by management. We are a secretariat of 2. We are not vetting, filtering, or monitoring and controlling the data that is put there. This is put out by the ship owners, and it stands and falls on its own merit and is open to scrutiny and is there to help the industry, as I say here, be held to account. So they're leading like-minded and going beyond regulation, much of what also has been discussed today, and they're working in a very collaborative environment to make sure that this happens. This is our website. This is where ship owners will sign up and disclose. This is where other parties will become signatories, the pension funds, investors, etc. And there's some details here. I'm just running out of time. We've issued our first report. You'll find that on our website, based on the first 6 ship owners. Sorry, 7. It's excluding TK, which was number 8. So this was printed the same week that TK came into the picture. So please go on our website and see the data that's been disclosed and helping change and lead to responsible ship recycling practices. And this is us. This is where you find us before he says goodbye. So thank you for your time.